Gary is so meticulous. He's a superb actor, and it's wonderful to work with him. He's fantastic.
Gary Oldman was somebody that really inspired me, because I'd often watch movies with Gary and not really realize it was him. Even when he wasn't covered in, like prosthetics or costume, he manages to disappear into his role.
Somebody who actually is the reason I'm acting, it was Gary Oldman, and he was the one who I studied. And I said, if I could ever be as good as him, and if I could ever inspire people the way that he has inspired me, then it will be worth it.
Big fan of him. From a long time ago, I've been following his movies. He's an actor that is totally believable, which for me is the ultimate thing, is just to be truthful.
Gary Oldman, wonderful, wonderful actor.
Gary Oldman, he's my rock star as far as actors go. I just think he's one of the great actors of our time.
Gary Oldman is my cinematic crush. I'd always loved his work, loved him as an actor, and I think he's a genius.
Gary Oldman, I don't know what other things you do, but just keep acting, brother, because you it up for the rest of us.
Gary, a world-class actor.
It's inspiring to go opposite an actor of Gary Oldman's quality and standing, and he's been an acting hero of mine and my generation since as long as I remember being able to watch films.
Well, he's one of the best, yeah.
I'm perfectly happy to do the rounds and applaud Gary, a very, very fine actor. It's great for a South London boy to be having his moment. Gary's done very, very fine work for many years, and he's being recognised for it now. I'm delighted for him.
As an actor, I've been so influenced by so many British actors throughout the years. Gary Oldman and State of Grace, which influenced an entire generation of actors.
Someone I revere as an actor and who watched for so many years and never been disappointed by.
Gary Oldman, he was a big hero of mine since I was 13, 14 years old.
A very strong candidate for the world's best living actor. I've marvelled at the intensity, the courage and the intelligence he brings to every film he's in. And making Tinker Tailor was like watching close-up magic. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend and icon, please be upstanding for the greatness that is Gary Oldman.
Here's the blind talent of Gary Oldman.
He's very, very powerful on screen, of course, Gary.
With Gary, a lot of my favorite actors are the ones who are chameleons, and this is a quintessential chameleon. So I would just come to work and absorb.
Your scenes with the King, for example, every beat is so tiny and small, and you can't find that, before lunch.
Gary Oldman is my hero, that's it. When I went to drama school, everybody used to quote him in all of his films. It's like, this is a man that I've stolen everything that I've done from, like Bronson, Stuart Life Backwards. It's me trying to emulate what Gary's done.
Love to meet Gary Oldman. He's the actor's actor, and he's a legend.
Gary Oldman is consumed as an actor, which is interesting to watch. He is multi-talented, has a great genius and flair for creativity, a great actor.
Gary Oldman, absolutely brilliant.
Oh, he's a chameleon. He's a wonderful actor. My generation of actors, he's the guy that we worship. He found a way to move, talk, think differently. These characters didn't look like they belonged in the same street. Gary's characters didn't grow up in the same universe.
I would never forgive myself, Gary, if I didn't tell you are one of the greatest actors to have ever lived. You're one of my inspirations.
Michael Keaton, Gary Oldman. How can you say no to that?
It's iconic, really. You think of all the great stuff he's done. And I've been a Gary Oldman fan since the first time I saw Gary Oldman. I went, who is this guy? And I always wanted to act with Gary Oldman.
I love Gary Oldman. God, so good.
Gary Oldman in particular, whom, I really followed his work and, even studied him. He was such a pleasure to work with, and, I learned so much from him. He's an impressive guy.
He's one of the funniest people I've ever worked with, and I think people don't realize that about him. He's also brilliant because as amazing of an actor as he is, he snaps out of it so quickly. He's very meticulous.
Gary Oldman, I've always been blown away by because he's such a good actor that he literally can't get famous because he's unrecognizable and everything. I just think he's amazing.
Well, he's just great. Every time I see this guy, he always amazes me. He does wonderful performances. A lot of people don't even realize they're watching you. That's how good an actor you are. You're like the most respected actor in town.
The inimitable Gary Oldman, a phenomenal body of work. Gary's unique ability to transform himself and become utterly unrecognizable.
Gary Oldman is the best. If you look at what I do, then watch Gary Oldman. You'll see, well, he's not quite as good, and yeah, he's doing Gary Oldman.
So what makes the great actor?
In my experience of watching great acting, it's always been someone who has the great rage. I think the great rage is one that shakes them to their boots. And if you're capable of that, and I think I've seen a few actors who have done that. Mr. Oldman.
Working with Gary Oldman was probably
the easiest acting experience of my life because I don't even remember being directed at all. I just sat there and watched him because he really does what he does well. It's pretty amazing to get to see that close.
The best England has to offer. I think he's just a wonderful, wonderful actor. In the films, my acting is never better than when I'm acting with him.
One of my greatest heroes and one of the best actors in the world, Mr. Gary Oldman. I've been inspired and amazed by his work, and they have done so much for me.
What's it like going on one-on-one with Gary Oldman?
It's kind of why I do the job. Gary was always, and is still, a hero of mine. A couple of scenes with Gary, that's, as an actor, that's what you want to be doing.
One of the great actors of our generation,